Considering that I have made multiple videos singing Squier's praises, I think it's pretty safe to say that I like them. But this video is about the Squier Affinity Series specifically, and why I think that the Affinity Series is the best deal in the entire guitar industry. Such a good deal, in fact, that when I first moved to the States, I bought a Squier Affinity as my first guitar here, and then I also picked one up pretty recently. This tasty little powder blue number. What, you don't think they're a good deal? I thought you'd just trust me at this point, but just to prove it, I have 4 points for you. The first is quality control. Now, it is true that the lower priced a guitar line, the higher the likelihood of having major issues. And the opposite is true, that the higher the price of a guitar line, the fewer issues slip through quality control. But this is basically the tug of war that quality control is, and I think the Affinity line hits the sweet spot. Anything cheaper like the Sonic or the Bullet series and you get more issues more often and just a more short-term guitar. And as you go up into the classic vibe and the Fender lines, you get way fewer issues, a higher quality guitar, but also a higher price. But that price skyrockets very quickly from the $250 Affinity line into the $450 and $500 Classic Vibe series into the high 700s and up going into that Fender line. But I believe that the Affinity series really strikes a great balance in that quality control tug of war. I've played a lot of these, and none of them have had major issues that I couldn't fix with a basic setup. In fact, the only thing wrong with this one when I first bought it was that it just needed a quick fret polish. And after that, it played and sounded just fantastic. Now, should it have left the factory like that? Absolutely not. But if that's all I had to do, if that's the only thing that slipped through the quality control, that's pretty simple to fix. My next point is playability. Do my Affinities play as good as my Fenders? Definitely not. But do they play bad? Absolutely not. They play really well, actually, especially for the price. Tuning stability, finishing, electronics, action, build quality, all very good, only with an issue here or there, if any. As I already mentioned, my recent Affinity just needed a quick fret polish, but beyond that, I haven't had any issues with scratchy parts, with tuning issues, or anything like that. In fact, when I first moved to the States, I told you I bought an Affinity, and that was my number one guitar for over 8 years, I think. And I didn't have any issues, nothing but good experiences. It played so well that I had a bunch of people tell me, oh, this feels great, or it feels like a Fender, or something to that effect. And that's something I generally agree with the whole range. Now let's talk about the current features offered on the Affinity line. And let me get something out of the way right away. This is not a $2,000 Fender. The electronics, the parts, the general quality is not as high as you're going to get when you spend $2,000. But they definitely are not bad. They're actually quite good for the price. But starting from the top, going down, the tuners are not bad. They're not my favorite. I've used these on a few other guitars, and they're okay, but they hold tune pretty well. But now initially, I was not a fan of the big 70s headstock, but with this new styling that it has, with the gold Squier, the full Stratocaster word, it used to just say Squier Strat, all in black, which looked awful. Here's a picture of it. But with how it looks right now, within this 70s style, is really solid. And also, I'm not sure if you can tell on this, but they've actually glossed the front of the headstock now, and it looks real sweet. Oh, and not to mention a change from a plastic nut to a synthetic bone. A very good upgrade. The neck is a C-carve, satin finish with Indian laurel on the front. Plays pretty well, feels good, not quite as nice as rosewood to be honest, and like I mentioned, the frets on this particular one needed a bit of a polish, but that was the only issue. And in general, I've never really had an issue with a Squier neck. It doesn't feel as good as a Fender neck with the rolled edges and the rosewood fretboard, but honestly, pretty solid. Now the bodies are poplar, and they are full thickness to an American Strat. That's something pretty important to remember when looking at Squiers. Some of the cheaper ones have sort of a 3/4 thickness body, but these Affinities have the full thickness, and the finishing is amazing. It looks great, it feels good, and the colors are even solid too. Here's a bunch of those. And the electronics, the electronics I feel are where Squier does tend to cheap out pretty quickly on some of these lower priced instruments. They're not amazing. They definitely get the job done. I've never had issues with scratchy pots or anything like that. But just based on what a Strat is, if you wanted to upgrade those, it's really inexpensive and it's actually very easy to do. Now, don't hear me wrong. I'm not saying you need to upgrade them. I used my Affinity Strat back when I first had one for, I think it was 6 years before I had to upgrade it, well, before I wanted to upgrade it. You don't need to upgrade. But if you want to upgrade something, I think the electronics are cheap enough and easy enough to upgrade as your first round. And like I mentioned, the finishing is top notch. I think this is one of the big benefits about buying a lower priced instrument from a larger manufacturer, like your Fender or your Gibson or something like that, is that they have the bandwidth and the buying power to be able to offer as high a quality as they do for a lower price as they do. The finishing on any of the Affinities is amazing. And one of the other strengths that the Affinity line offers is the wide range of guitars that they have. You can get Strats, Tallys, thin-line Tallys, Jaguars, Starcasters, maple or laurel necks, and any kind of pickup configuration that you could want. And even quilted and flame maple tops. Well, veneers. Back in the day, they just had black, white, and red guitars, but now they offer such a wide range of colors, you are almost certain to find something that you can vibe with. Tagging onto the range is the price. The Affinity Series ranges from just $219 and goes up to $350, and that is just insane for what you get. And this is one of the big reasons that I believe the Affinity range is the best deal in the guitar industry. For all the points I just mentioned, to be an average of like $270-ish with as few quality control issues as they do have is nuts. Now, I know a lot of people have had bad issues with the Affinity line or just Squiers in general. And some of the comments on my other videos, and on this one if you have a look, are very passionate about their views. But I truly believe that these are the outliers. And if you're looking at starting guitar or you don't have a Fender style guitar, the Affinity line is the best deal that you can get. Not the best guitar you can get, just to be clear. Just the best deal for what you're getting. And ultimately, the question comes down to, what are your needs? Are you a professional that regularly plays a Novo or a standard Les Paul? Then this video and these guitars probably aren't for you. But I do believe that the Affinity line is the best option for the majority of players out there that are looking to expand their musical vocabulary or to just try something new, plus many more. But I guess the only thing that really matters is, what do you think?